Let's have a conversation about elections, and in particular, United States and Kenya elections. Like many countries, election throws the nation into a 24/7 electioneering period, with media outlets thrust in a news programming like no other. While Kenya and the US have enjoyed diplomatic ties that cut across various sectors, with one of the most powerful nations on earth prepping for elections, well, the rest of the world gets to have a front row seat and watch or take notes. On our special feature tonight, I'd love us to take a look at the big differences between Kenya and US elections and what we can learn from it. Let's talk about political party affiliations. Now in Kenya, the political landscape has been in a constant change ever since 2002. A president comes in through a political party with freedom to form alliances or coalitions with other parties or as an independent candidate. Some parties have stood the test of time while others were crumbled. In practical instances, in 2013, former President Uhuru Kenyatta and the then Deputy President William Ruto came into office through TNA Party and URP respectively. And after the first term in office, a new party was formed, Jubilee Party. Now, a Kenyan is not necessarily a member of a political party unless they choose to. And most are not interested in understanding the vision or mission of parties unless during the rigorous campaign election period, where candidates pitch their manifesto agendas. In the United States, the political system also operates under a multi-party system, with the Democratic and Republican parties the most influential players. The electoral system in the US is called a two-party system. This means that two parties dominate the political field in all three levels of government. These two parties are the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. Other parties are often generally termed third parties. Now, the feel of political parties is a little different. Voters would speak of being part of the liberals or conservative based on even how their generation voted. And the two dominant parties have been existing from as early as 1796. So they have been consistent with that. And the last four presidents in the US have been from either of these two. Former President George W. Bush was from the Republican, Barack Obama was a Democrat, Donald Trump from the Republican, and Joe Biden from the Democrats. Let's speak about presidential nominations. So how do the two major parties choose their presidential candidates? Well, in the United States, electing a president is a long process which consists of two major election processes. First, the primary elections take place, in which presidential candidates for the two parties are elected. Second, when the candidates for each party have been officially selected, the process of the actual presidential election begins. If the incumbent president decides to attempt re-election, his party's primaries will often be more or less a formality with little competition from rival candidates. The primaries take place from February through June, and during this time, elections move from state to state. The delegates are at this point mandated with voting for their candidate, to which they are assigned when the parties hold their conventions at the end of the primaries. The last primary election is held in the beginning of June, and after this, all that is left is the parties' conventions in July or August, in which presidential candidates for each party are officially appointed. In Kenya, the process is not far off. History has it that political party leaders are often the presidential candidates in an election. And independent candidates also get an opportunity given that they meet set requirements. In 2022, presidential candidates included UDA party leader William Ruto, ODM party leader Raila Odinga, Roots Party leader George Wajakoya, and Agano Party leader David Mwaure, among others. Party nominations are also done, arguably, as a formality with little to no competition from rivals, and this is done 4 months prior to the elections. Once granted the party ticket, a presidential nominee will be on the ballot. After confirmation of party tickets, the candidates intensify their campaigns. In the two countries, campaigns typically kick off even before the party primaries are held. Campaigns are an expensive affair. One of the biggest campaign platforms is the presidential debate, where the contenders are tasked to defend and submit their plans and agendas when they get to office. This happens in both countries, and the mode of campaigning in Kenya has always been the traditional campaign rallies with huge crowds, the popular of all, as well as engagements in town hall meetings with a particular sect group like women, persons with disabilities, and the youth. Interestingly, in 2022, contrary to 2016, the more traditional campaign manner saw a twist with additional of digital media and television adverts. This modern addition was adapted even by aspirants from other elective positions and not just for the presidency. This is expected to evolve in future elections. Now, in the United States, it's a mix of huge campaign rallies, meetings with particular sector groups, and the traditional media like news and television shows and programs. Candidates also tend to be on podcasts, social media influencers' pages, as well as comedy shows. In a bid to portray the candidates as human and reachable, you'll often see them at shops, malls, food joints, even barber shops. The campaigns also attract endorsements from celebrities who have a massive following. Like I said, campaigns are an expensive affair. Now, in the United States, candidates mobilize for funding for their own campaigns, even the incumbents. For instance, when Kamala Harris joined the race, the campaign accumulated $81 million on the first day from donations. After debating Donald Trump, Harris's campaign received $47 million from 600,000 people. On the other hand, Trump's campaign committee raised $388 million in total between January 2023 and October 16, 2024. This facilitates their travel, rental spaces, media productions and advertising, logistics, publishing, and even consultation. In Kenya, candidates also fund their own campaign, and the figures are rarely given out to the public. The candidates may be funded through donations, friends, and wealthy individuals. However, you are likely to see the spending through travel, rallies, publications, media, and music productions. When all is said and done, the people have the voice. Now, voting is different for both US and Kenya. In Kenya, the Kenyan people decide the vote at the ballot on election date and not a minute before. A winning candidate must garner the 50+1% threshold set by the electoral agency. If not achieved, there are runoffs. Voting is a one-day affair, and counting is at least a two-day affair, to which the winner will be declared president-elect. In America, the voting process is long. Early voting is open at least 2 weeks prior to the election date, where Americans can begin casting their ballots in advance, usually via postal voting or in person, usually in designated early voting polling stations. In other US elections, candidates are elected directly by popular vote. But the president and the vice president are not elected directly by citizens. Instead, they are chosen through the Electoral College process. So what is the Electoral College? Well, all 50 states gets as many electors as it has members of Congress, that is both House and the Senate. Currently, there are 538 electors, and for a candidate to be declared the winner, they have to garner a simple majority of 270. After a voter casts their ballot for president, the vote goes to a statewide tally. In 48 states and Washington, D.C., the winner gets all the electoral votes for that state. In states like Maine and Nebraska, they assign the electors using a proportional system. In most cases, a projected winner is announced on election night in November after the vote. But the actual electoral college vote takes place in mid-December when the electors meet in their states. In the end, whoever wins the US elections that were cast in November is sworn into office in January 20th. Very specific, right? Well, in Kenya, the president-elect is sworn in on the second Tuesday of September after elections are held in August.